And what about, the invitations? You hold them accountable. And then you have, what is it? Let me get this right. You have the NFL, the name, image, and likeness. On July 1st of 2021, the NCAA implemented a policy allowing all incoming and current student athletes the opportunity to earn money from NIL deals. Now, how many SWAC coaches have talked to their players about the NIL? How many? How many have opened the doors to the NILs? See, it's a brand. Coach Sanders had an image. Coach Sanders had a vision. Coach Sanders knew what he was doing. He hasn't changed. He's always been like that. He's just softened up and has, from what I understand, has slowed down a little bit. But he's still Sanders. He's still prime time. So see, this is bigger. This is deeper. Robinson's feelings were not hurt. There is petty ass jealousy going on. You were hurt. Coach Sanders was doing what a football coach was supposed to do. He was pumping up his players for the game. He was talking shit. That's what most coaches do when they come into a game. You pump them up. You build them up. You get the fire underneath them. Your feelings were hurt. You were acting like a little child, an adolescent, little weak-ass punk. That's what you were acting like. And if I make anybody mad, I don't care. Now, I may have stopped my way of becoming a trustee at Alabama State University. But if it's for me, it's for me. I'm not apologizing for anything because my perception, and understand again, I'm not one of those white folks that went to campus or went to class and ran my ass out after class was finished to the car. So I told you yesterday, Jimmy from the Bronx, we used to, the people from New York, people from Detroit, people from Chicago used to socialize outside Simpson and Men's Benson. And Jimmy from the Bronx was saying, Humes, watch this. Watch what happens in 5 minutes or 5 seconds. He started counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And sure enough, here was some of these, here comes these white folks running out of the School of Business, running to their cars. He said, that's what you call white flight. I was like, damn. I was active. I can tell you about activities that went on. I can tell you all the dirt. Thank goodness that some of the builders can't talk because I probably wouldn't become a teacher. I remember the attic of Beverly Hall. I remember 3rd floor McGee Hall. I remember the 3rd floor of council. I do. I had a hell of a good time at State. I owe State everything because State allowed me to be the teacher that I was. But to see a coach, an alumni from my alma mater, from his alma mater, to act a damn fool on the field because his feelings were hurt. Give me a break. You had the same opportunities that Coach Sanders had. Coach Sanders used his to his advantage. And come to think of it, how many coaches in SWAC are from SWAC? But so typically the big question is, because Coach Sanders did not go to a HBCU, does that make him less of a black? Because, sometimes we have the, well, he's not black. Why is he not black? So is that what you're saying too? That because he did not go to an HBCU initially, that he's not black enough? Is that what you're saying, Robinson? See, it goes deeper. And how many individuals who wanted to sponsor the program, who wanted to be donors or give donations to the school, how many of them individuals have you all of a sudden stopped? And from a parent standpoint, if I saw such foolishness going on, I wouldn't want my son nor any of my daughters or whatever to be under you, because if you're acting this, and look at your football players. You had a football player that called Coach Sanders a bitch ass whore. You had a football player that called the water girl from Jackson State a bitch hoe. What? Why? Is that what you're raising, Robinson? Are they perpetrating? Are they walking in your image? And how many SWAC coaches understand the environment in which their players come from? How many? How many of you know where, if you came from a single parent, if you came from a broken home, how many do you know? When I was a teacher, I knew you couldn't talk to all students the same way. Sanders is the same way. You can't talk to these kids like we would talk back then in the dark ages. Back then, I was born in 1960. I'm 62 years old, and I look damn good to be 62 years old, but I digress. There were certain students you could not talk the same to. Some students you could just blast them out. There were some students you had to be cautious with the way they handle because of their environment. They didn't want to hear that shit. And rightfully so. How many of you have taken time to understand where your students are coming from, your student athletes are coming from? How many of you know exactly what they went through? And then you want to call Sanders the arrogant, arrogance, or is it confidence? And you want to say, what motivates you? What motivates him? He is motivated every time he gets up. Every time he walks around, he's motivated. He remembers where he comes from. He's not ashamed of where he's come from. He understands where he comes from. He doesn't deny, nor does he hide where he comes from. So this runs deeper. You have an individual that can polish SWAC to where SWAC is supposed to be, because we have the same caliber of players that are in SWAC that the SEC has, if not better. If not better. So you have an individual, just like that football player, lost out on an opportunity to introduce himself to Coach Sanders. Now, I'm not taking anything from Robinson. But you have an individual that you could have had the opportunity to introduce yourself to. So if by chance you wanted to do whatever, Coach Sanders would have remembered you. Oh, yeah, you played with State during homecoming when we whooped your ass. You missed out on opportunity. And how many times have we missed out on opportunities that were given to us, faced there on a silver platter, that we didn't take? He lost out because of his foolishness. And he could not have done that unless he had heard that from Coach Robinson. Now understand, like I told y'all yesterday, I don't like three groups of men. I do not like coaches. I do not like mechanics. And I do not like car salesmen, because they have this huge ego. This manly ego, this grizzly ego that, yes, I chew tobacco and I scratch my balls. Well, I've never chewed tobacco. And I'd wash myself, and I'd wash myself well so that way my balls don't itch. And I don't think that's manly for you to scratch your balls. I think it's really disgusting. That means that your ass isn't washing yourself properly, which means that there's a possibility you don't even wash your ass. And I digress again. But it's time. It is past time for this foolishness to have stopped. It is past time for us to only accept what we deem is necessary. We don't deserve scraps no more. We must demand that the scouts come and watch our players. We demand that we're given the same opportunities that the SEC has. You have an individual that is giving you his expertise. I'm not taking anything away from the coaches. I'm talking about an individual that has a brand that is solid, that is quality, not quantity, but that is quality, that has worked his ass off to get what he has. Yes, he might have been an arrogant SOB initially. Yes, he may have been a pompous peacock. He was working on his brand. He was creating his brand. He was creating this image that he has now. Coach Robinson is a fantastic man. Many accolades. I'm not taking anything away from the coach. I have as much respect for the coach as I have for any other coach. But I have been blessed to have met coaches that pretty much have changed my attitude when it comes to my perception of coaches. I had Coach Curtis Coleman, who was the head coach over at Huffman High School, that I think that works for Jefferson County now. I had Alex Wilson, who was also over at Huffman High School, who's over at Winona. I had Coach Pete, who worked over at Huffman, that I think is over at Carver High School. Coach Ward, who is a basketball coach. Fantastic individual, fantastic coaches who push their players to be better. But it's past time that we stop accepting or stop allowing certain entities, certain institutions, certain organizations to just throw us scraps. But we have this slave type mentality, the same way before the integration. Black historians would tell you the black community didn't believe in integration. They did not even want to integrate with white folks. All they wanted was equity. That's all they wanted. They wanted equity. They wanted the same resources. They wanted the same supplies and materials at the white schools. They didn't want the second throwaways. Let me tell you how dedicated black teachers were. Parker High School was the largest black high school in the United States. The largest in the United States. And they were given throwaways. They were given torn up stuff. And yet those teachers were dedicated and motivated and inspirational to the point they taught their students, even though they didn't have the best, because they made do with what was given to them. Everything that we have, every creation, every invention that we have was created, was invented by a black. Even before architecture, medicine, cosmetology, astrology, music, everything evolved and was created by blacks. It would be easier to just say what was not. I can't think of any. It's time to stop this foolishness. So that I don't even know what the hell happened to y'all getting in a brawl. Some people suggest that the program be done away with. I don't know. I think about the student athletes that if that happened, I don't know. All I know is that I was hurt. All I know, I saw my school being embarrassed. All I know, I saw my school's reputation being tarnished because of some foolishness that was performed on live TV. And so now you have these white folks thinking what they've always thought. Now you're giving them evidence. Well, I told you them folks couldn't be educated. Look what they're doing. You know them ends. You giving them evidence. How dare you? I'm not saying again not to support the coach. Support the coach. But do not support his foolishness. Do not support his unprofessionalism, unsportsmanlike. Don't support that. Your feelings were hurt. Man, sit down somewhere. Regroup, remodify. But you have an individual that has the avenues, that has the accessibility, that has the connections. And I'm sure the coaches do, but you're not utilizing it because you're familiar and you're common with what you don't have. You accept what you don't have. You don't demand better because you don't know any better. Now you have Alabama A&M, Alabama State having discussions with Birmingham about the incoming contract, because I think this is the last year for the Magic City Classic, because they were saying something about Legion Field. And see, that's another thing. If Legion Field is so dangerous, why did you have the World Games over there? And then you're thinking about putting us in the Tinker-Tonka Dam, whatever the damn name is. It won't support Alabama State and Alabama A&M alumni and visitors. The stadium isn't big enough. How dare you? How dare you to compare HBCUs, Alabama State, A&M, Alabama State to UAB? How dare you? How much money does the Magic City bring to the city of Birmingham? I bet you it's more than what that damn UAB does. And UAB shouldn't even have a football program. It's a research school, the 5th in the nation. But see, that's what happens when you have old white men who will want to be athletes, who demand, and they get it. So now you have an athletic department that shouldn't be there. Now you have the stadium, which should not be there, because you had a black mayor who wanted a huge venue, a dome stadium, which could house multiple venues. But no, you didn't want that because he was black. So you settled with this little Tinker-Tonk stadium because you have a puppet. I mean no disrespect per se to anyone, but I do not apologize. I am unapologetic because I'm tired. And you should be tired too. You should demand respect. You should demand more. You need to utilize the hell out of Coach Sanders. You need to wear his ass out. You need to bring the NIL to your program so that way they can talk to your players. Let them know exactly what they can and can't do. You need to hold individuals accountable, just like those football players. You need to hold them accountable. You need to have them to do an open public apology, because you tarnish not only the school, but you tarnish Coach Robinson's program. That has no player from Alabama State has ever done that. No player. How dare you? Disrespectful. So, Coach Robinson, what type of team, what type of players what are you teaching your players? What type of program do you have? But the coaches of SWAC, you have an individual that has offered his services. And the individuals at SWAC, you need to utilize the hell out of Sanders so that way he can bring SWAC up to SEC, and it can be done. It can be done. The last time I looked, I think statistics show there was, 78% or 87% of NFL players were black. You don't need them white folks. You can go on strike and make your demands. But again, we have this slave mentality that we're common, we're familiar with not having, and we're comfortable. You cannot be comfortable. It's past time of being comfortable. Past time. I am a proud alumni of Alabama State University. I lived on campus. I was actively involved on campus. Again, as I stated before, I have an Alabama State University card tag. I will always have a card tag with Alabama State University. Doesn't matter about Montevallo, doesn't matter about Sanford. I will always have Alabama State University. When State played Auburn, you talk about racism, baby. A white old man at Alabama State University. You should have seen the looks. You should have heard the comments that were made because of me wearing Alabama State University. And there were more black people making comments. One even had the audacity to ask me, "You have an Alabama State University shirt on." I said, "You have an Auburn shirt." I said, "Did you graduate from Auburn?" Because I graduated from State. Was up in the stand. There was 3 drunk fraternity guys talking about them ends. I politely pretend like I was stretching and turned around. And you should have seen the looks. Them white boys could have had a heart attack. 2 of them left. I told the 2 remaining, "Y'all blessed." Because I don't appreciate that. They apologized. I was at State for iconic, prestigious professor Thelma Rice, Bertha Underwood, Norman Walton, Eunice Warren Moore, Percy Vaughn, Alice Harris, Dr. Olivier, Dr. Shepard, Dean Ferrier. And also, I remembered the guy. Remember, if you heard me back yesterday when I was asking Dr. Watkins for a costume, John Knight was the individual that told me to get out of his office because he didn't believe that Dr. Watkins had sent me down there. Sure did. I'm sitting outside council waiting on the BEUG checks outside financial office. Dr. Watkins comes down and asks for a costume. I didn't know you wasn't supposed to talk to him. Told me to come to his office, went to his office. Mrs. Royster, I love Mrs. Royster. Mrs. Royster was shocked that I would come in, about to dismiss me, but Dr. Watkins asked me to come to his office. I told him what I wanted. He told me to go down to Mr. Knight's office down at the end and tell him. Went down there. Mr. Knight put me out of his office. Put me out. Did not believe that Dr. Watkins had sent me to his office. So I returned back to Dr. Watkins' office, told him what had happened. He told me, "Go back. Mr. Knight will be waiting for you." And sure enough, Mr. Knight was walking down from one end, met me in the middle, asked me how much, find out. I think that Dr. Watkins paid under $800 for the first costume. I was there when Prof was there. Dr. Thomas Lau, T. Clifford Bibb, Johnny Witcher. Distinguished professors. Blessed. 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 I owe everything to State. And yes, I am upset. Yes, I am. Because of foolishness. Because of a pompous peacock attitude. Because of ego. Because of jealousy. You tarnished my alma mater. You tarnished it. And then your football players that are under you tarnished and embarrassed. Oh, yeah, I'm still upset, but I get over it, sure will. Might even show up next year. Sure would. Might even show up next year. Might show up for homecoming and might even go to Magic City Classic. Never know. Been gone too long. But I still want to be on the board of trustees. Sure do. I still want to be on the board of trustees. I think I would be qualified because of what I had experienced at state, because of the love that I have for state, for the admiration that I have for state. But to read some of the comments, I was appalled. You support foolishness. Support your coach. Support your coach. That's what we're supposed to do. But we are not supposed to support anything that will tarnish the name or the reputation of Alabama State University. That was foolishness. That was unprofessionalism. And that pathetic, apologetic letter that he wrote. Robinson, you can do better. You can do better. You can do better. But again, those football players that were totally that was totally rude, they need to be brought up on disciplinary action, and they should do a public apology on behalf of the football program, the athletic department, the president, the faculty, the students. They should do an open public apology for what they did. And that's not asking too much. You played foolishness out in the open. And if you were man enough to do that, then you should be man enough to accept what you did was incorrect, what was wrong, and admit that, yes, I was wrong. I was just in the moment. You know how you football players do. I was in the moment. I was in the spirit. I was fired up. That's why I did what I did. You were stupid. But we have to start demanding better. We have to demand better. We have to demand that what the SEC has, that we have, that was shown on television, our games are broadcast, that the NFL scouts come. Because again, the players of SEC, the athletes of SWAC are as good, if not better, than those of SEC. Let me say that again. The athletes of SWAC are just as good, if not better, than those of the SEC. It's time. It's just time. It's just time. Oof, I'm tired now. But I'm not apologetic. I meant every word I said. And if I upset somebody, I don't care. Get over it. Take your mind off. But I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all coming on. Go like, share, follow Smash Bros Radio on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If I haven't made, if you are mad with me, I still would like for you to follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Twitter. Like, follow, share. I appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all a lot. Know that you are the only obstacle in your way. Know your value, know your worth, and most importantly, Know that I love you more than I love my luggage. I will see y'all Wednesday. I have DeJuan Hall coming on tomorrow with Mark. Forgive me. Where is you? Mark Harper. DeJuan Hall and Mark Harper will be on tomorrow. We're going to talk about Alabama Power Bully Connection. So again, y'all take care of yourself. Be safe out there. I'll see you Wednesday. The live stream on the show. On the show. The live stream. On the show. The live stream. The live stream on the show.